in Egypt today calling themselves Egyptians are not the original Egyptians, man. I'm going to give you an example.
Can I bring the scripture out quickly?
Bring it out.
As Amos chapter 9 verse 7, are ye not as the children of the Ethiopians unto me?
Right, the Bible says that the children of Israel are like the children of Ethiopians, meaning they were dark-skinned people.
That's right. O children of Israel.
Now look at it. I typed in Egyptians, and look what the Egyptians drew themselves as. A people of color. So Moses was a man of color. So his father had to be a man of color, man. And both his father and his mother were Levites. That means Levi was a man of color. That means that Jacob was a man of color. Look, these are what the Egyptians look like. They were people of color. Look, they got plaits. Them so-called Jews don't roll around with plaits. Look at that, Egyptians. Which they could have been Israelites playing their music. Egyptians. The Sphinx, right, which the nose wasn't originally like that, okay? See the white man's a devil? That's why Hitler blew the nose off, because he had a negroid nose. Egyptians, people of color. Right? Egyptians. There's a damn, what do you call it? A light-skinned ass Egyptian, man. That ain't no white man though, because they ain't one of the Edomites in Egypt, okay? Don't get stupid. The Egyptians were Hamites, which the Hamites are all the people of color. They were brothers to the Ethiopians, man. See, they try to line this one up, but you can plainly see, look, person of color. Now, what we're going to do, I want to see a modern day Egyptian and show you that these modern day Egyptians, man, what they say they look like. They say these people here are Egyptians. No, they're not. These are fucking Arabs. Because Egypt was conquered by the Caliphate, man. By the Ottoman Turk Muslim Empire, and the Arabs took over Egypt. Just like the Greeks took over, really, because what you call Egypt today was called Upper Egypt in ancient time. You had Upper Egypt, you had Middle Egypt, and you had Lower Egypt. Middle Egypt and Lower Egypt today is what you call Sudan. The Arabs took over Upper Egypt, and that's why you got a bunch of people, even though they're people of color, they're lighter than what the true Egyptians really were, because these are the product of Edomites, Greco-Edomites, and Arabs, man. Now I'm going to show you what real Egyptians look like, and those are the people of the Sudan. These are what the tall, dark people, Philistines, men of stature. These are what the real Egyptians look like. Right? These are the descendants of Mizraim today. They got some Arabs mixed in among them. But look, dark skin, look, dark skin. These are Sudanese people, dark, almost pitch black. Another Sudanese, dark. Right? There's a Sudanese with light brown eyes. These are what the Egyptians really look like, man. Okay? Then you got a group of them that take this red earth and put it in their hair, man. Right? Sudanese. Notice the noses. They're not all bare broad. Okay? Sudanese people. Right? Guess what? They look like so-called Negroes. That's why Moses could pass for one of them. Because Moses was a Haitian. Right? Who you call the Haitians today were the Levites of ancient times. And what did the Haitians look like? Just like the Egyptians. That's why Moses could pass for an Egyptian. You dummies. The so-called Jewish people, these people do not look like the Sudanese. So how the hell would one of these people here pass, one of these gutter rats right here pass for an Egyptian, man? Because Moses was a Jew. He was from Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. How would one of these gutter rats, if they're the real Jews, pass for an Egyptian, man? Are you out your mind? That's madness, okay? So where was we? The brother was he getting us? Oh, he was back in the pictures, right? So that's an expose. Like I said, this book was from 1958. Now let's get more visual evidence. This is from the. Let me get the book from that is from up. The Oxford Bible Atlas by Adrian Curtis, the 4th edition, 2007. Right. Let's go back up to the top. This is the page 59, and this is a depiction of Mordecai. And as you can see, they got afros and they're brown. Mordecai, afros, as you can see, and they got pigment in their skin. They don't look nothing like them gutter rats I just showed you. People of color. Okay? Look at their hair. So-called Jews today. And hold on, where's this little twiglet coming down the side of his head? He was a Jew, wasn't he? He was a practicing Jew. Where's his twiglet? You fucking demons. Now this is another book I got called The Catacombs, Life and Death in Early Christianity, man, by James Stevenson. Right, he's from the Catacombs in Rome. It was made in 1978, this book. We're going to get some images out of there. Right? And I should have it here because I'm going to have to read some of these captions, man. Now this is from page 57. And this is a Jewish catacomb at Rome. And this is the decoration on the ceiling. Now all the pictures I got from the book are black and white. But this woman is brown, okay? Right? She was obviously, because so-called white people ain't going to come out that dark. She's a woman of color. Now, why would they put a so-called black woman as a decoration on the ceiling of a Jewish catacomb? Because the Jews were so-called black people. This is by an image done by Peter and Marcellinus, and it's Christ enthroned, right, between Saint Peter and Paul, early 5th century. Look, man of color. You see? Look, all the people around, men of color. How are you going to get around this? This is another image, right, from page 66. To the left is Micah, to the right Moses. There's Micah, a man of color, and to the right Moses, a man of color. Right? You can't get around this. This is Adam and Eve. All this darkness you see here is brown. There were people of color, and the people who drew this picture knew that. Okay? That's from page, let me get the right page. So if you get the book, you can look at these yourself. 66 as well. Right? This is an image, and it says, I believe it's a series of biblical stories. As you can see, the people are all a people of color. Right? Same over here. Right? These are stories from the Old and New Testament. This is meant to be who you call Jesus Christ. I can see his legs are dark, and his face is dark, his hand is dark, and I believe this is the woman that grabbed his cloth and was healed, and as you can see, she is dark. Right? You can't get around this. If they were white, why didn't they draw them as white? They had paint. You telling me they couldn't draw them as white people? The Romans drew white people. Why couldn't they draw them? Now this is from page 68, a series of painting. Moses striking the rock, which is here. Again, Moses, a man of color. Look at his arm. He's a man of color. Right? Yahweh Shai multiplying the loaves. There's Yahweh Shai there. Jesus, man of color. The people carrying it, man of color. People getting fed, people of color. Right? Epiphany. 3 Orontes, Noah, the raising of Lazarus, Daniel, Tobias, and Job. And that's all at the bottom. There's Daniel in the lion's den. And you're going to tell me that's not a man of color. You gonna tell me that's a so-called white man? Remember, these pictures, this ain't black. In real life, it's in color. These are brown. The lions are brown, which lions are brownish, and the man is brown. Okay? Don't think they have different pigments. I'm gonna prove that to you by the end of this slide. Here we have the same image zoomed in a little bit. I wish I could have got better quality. This is the discovery of, this is page 69, the discovery of Moses by Pharaoh's daughter, most high on the left. So this is God on the left. Look, man of color, big bushy hair, man of color. These what? Man of color. As you can see, the paintings faded over time, but these are people of color. Look, see? And Moses in the basket down here. You can't get around this. This is Moses and Aaron being attacked by two other Israelites. Once again, this is Moses, man of color. Look at their legs. Look at their legs. These are people of color, man. And don't tell me they were wearing tights. Moses, right? But really Peter, and that's spiritual. Let me read something there, because you got these dudes talking about how Peter weren't King David, Peter weren't Moses, right? Let me read something. This says Moses, in brackets, Peter striking the rock, right? The figures receiving the water are Roman soldiers. The biblical story became conflated with the legend of the miraculous spring which gushed forth in Peter's prison at Rome and in which he baptized his jailers. So according to the writings of the early Christians, it's not in the Bible, but Peter actually broke open a wall in one of his prisons and water came out and he baptized people with it. Now Moses broke open the rock back before, showing you that Peter is Moses, the reincarnation, if you can receive it. But that's not really the issue at hand. As you can see, he's got afro and he's a man of color, undisputable. This is Balaam, who was a Moabite. Chinese are a people of color, right? That's from page 72. This is Job from page 77. Afro, dark as hell, because get Job 30 and 30. And this is me. Also a man of color, okay? Right?
Guys, Job 30 verse 30. My skin is black upon me.
Woo! There's Job.
Very black.
There's Job. Go on.
And my bones are burned with heat.
That's right. That's how he got this dark. Right? Let's go. Now here we have the three in the fire. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from page 79. Once again, look at their hands. Look at their faces. Look at their feet. They're a people of color, man. Brown. Not like them gutter rats over there in Israel today, calling themselves Israelites. Oh my days. Look at this one. This is supposed to be the multiplication of the loaves. Look at his hair. Right? They got that woolly hair. Look at, that's a dark skinned, dark brown man. Look at his hand, dark brown, and some loaves of bread, which are brown too. Okay, not what they didn't have white bread back in the ancient time. Okay, some hovis, white. Oh my days! This is the heavenly banquet. Page 95. Yahweh Shai with a bunch of Jews around him. Look at this man's face, man. Are you kidding me? Look at the woolly hair. And where are the twiglets? These don't look like them so-called Jews today. Right? Here we have Peter, the denial of Peter. This is Peter. look at Peter, man. These guys have been faded away. That bit's been destroyed, probably by a water seepage or something. But look at Peter. These are Jews. Look at Peter, man. That's from let me get the correct page. Because I could have got more out of this. That's from page 100. 105. Like I said, these are all from the catacombs. This is an image of Christ as judge. Now you're gonna tell me that weren't drawn as a person who's dark skinned, a person of color. Give me a break, man, please. And these men that drew these images knew what the Lord looked like, because this is from Rome. So they knew what there was actually people down there in the catacombs, because Paul went down in these catacombs. When the disciples visited Rome, when they outlawed Christianity, this is where they had to meet up, in the catacombs, man.
Yep.
That's why it's called life and death in early Christianity, man.
Can I get a scripture quick?
Go on up.
This is Acts 21 verse 37. And as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? Art thou not that Egyptian?
Ooh, there you go. He said that Paul looked like an Egyptian, man. Which Egyptians were people of color, man. Read on.
Which before these days made us an uproar and led us out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers. But Paul said, I am a man, which am a Jew.
Yep.
Of Tarsus.
Of Tarsus, go on.
A city in Sicilia, a citizen of no mean city, and I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people.
That's right. Right? Now this image is from Mark 15 and 19. Get that real quick up.
Sorry, Mark 15 and 19.
Mark 15 and 19. This is what this image represents. It's from page 106. As you can see, people of color. Because the image is faded, you know, because it's been years, man. It's been like 2,000 years. But you can see originally what it was. They were dark brown. Some darker than others, man. Yep. So what the hell happened to these so-called Jews today? Go on, read that.
Okay, it says here in Mark 15 verse 19, and they smote him on the head with a reed.
Right, this them smoting who, gone?
And this split upon him, and bowing their knee worshipped him.
That's right. Who was the him?
I think it's Yahusha.
Yes. There you go.
Yeah, it says that, verse above says, and began to salute him, Hail, King of the Jews.
There you go. And look, these men have got afros, man. So you Jews are finished, man. You so-called Jews are finished. The truth's coming out now, man. And you're finished, man. The archaeology, you tried to hide it in your museums, and then you're deep into your books, you thought no one was going to read them, and you thought if you just push yourself on TV enough, everyone did, just basically say, well, the real Jews are white. But you know what? Now the truth's coming out on you, man. Even your own people are working out that you're not the real Jews. So what are you going to do? You're going into slavery now. The gig is up. Your witchcraft is wearing off. Your Quedipoff line, your Kabbalistic Quedipoff line is cut. Satan ain't working with you no more, man.
Yeah, I think that caption is when the Romans were taking the piss out of the Lord, basically, when they captured him in it.
You sure?
Yeah, because it goes on to say, and when they had mocked him, they took off the purple from him and put his own clothes on. So that's when they captured the Lord, basically.
Well, there
they
you
was
go.
mocking him, man.
There you go. Right, that was it. You know, which we know all day long. There's all kind of archaeology, man. You brothers want more? Just go on YouTube and type in dark icons, Russian icons, and you know what I mean. The archaeology is all there. But I just wanted to show you from the catacombs in Rome, which these were people that actually knew. They were actually Jews themselves, a lot of them, and they knew Jews, and this is how they drew them as dark-skinned people of color. Now, let me prove to you what the images look like when they're in color. Right? As you can see, this is supposed to be Jesus. Now, ain't no so-called Jew look like these people today. And these are faded, as you can see. This is Jesus and the 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's a bit short. I think there might be a more around the other side. But this is supposed to be Jesus Christ and the disciples, man. And as you can see, they were people of color. Obviously, they didn't draw them with beards because the Christians in Rome, they couldn't have beards. Beards were outlawed. So in their paintings, they never rendered anyone with a beard. Because they couldn't wear beards, But as you can see, there are people of color, man. Dark-skinned people, man. This guy looks like he would have been darker than me. So what you got to say? You ain't got a damn thing to say. Now, if I what I'm gonna do is, I wonder if I could turn this. That's what that would look like, black and white. You see, my book is in black and white. So all them images you saw, look how dark a lot of them were, man. This is in black and white, and that's what it looks like. But in color, oh, how do I take off the effect? Revert to original. In color, that's what it looks like, man. So all them images I showed you, like Job, you dark brown. Look, dark brown. Look how dark that is. Dark brown. Right? Now that we've shown that, we're going to go into a book. A couple of books. But first, we're going to read this book, and it's called Who is Esau, Edom? And as you can see at the front are all so-called Jews, because the author of this book, which is Charles A. Weissman, he figured out that the Edomites today, according to biblical prophecy and according to history, would have to be the people calling themselves Jews. White people. Right? And they are faking the funk. Right? Because hold on, this is in black and white, right? These guys don't look people of color at all. Look at that. How come they didn't draw none of the Jews looking like that? How come? See, this is what when you draw a so-called white person in black and white, the only thing that will be dark is that shadow. And then when you put that in color, that shadow won't be brown. You see, that shadow wouldn't be brown. Now, let's get straight to the point, man. Let's get from here. Go on, bro. We're just gonna read some of this history.
Down the left, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
See if I can get any. And when I gotta move, I'll move accordingly. Can I change this into a hand, innit? Hand tool. Yeah.
Okay. It says, after the conquest of Judah by the Babylonians, some of the Edomites who had mixed with the Jews in their land resettled with them in Judea. 2 centuries later, all of Edom was driven out of Mount Seir.
Right, because why would we drive Edom after they resettled this was in Judea? Why would we drive them to Mount Seir? Because they're not real Jews, they're Edomites. That just proves to you that you can't just become a Jew. You're an Edomite. Go on.
The Edomites were driven from Petra westward by the Nabateans in the 312 BC.
Yep, and then when you go into the history, a lot of them also ran up into Greece, like Macedonia. And that's where you got Alexander the Freak. Go on.
And before the middle of the 2nd century BC, they were occupying not only southern Judah, but also Hebron and the country to its north as far as Bethsur.
Go on.
The Nabateans now occupy Mount Seir.
Which you can find the history of that in 1st Maccabees, man. The 4th chapter and the 5th chapter. Go on.
The Nabateans now occupy Mount Seir, and the Edomites were driven into the old territory of Judah. The Maccabean family, a remnant of the true Judites.
Remnant of the true Judites. Go on.
Ruled Judea from 166 to 37 BC.
Right.
And under Judas Maccabee, recaptured the seat of Hebron from the Edomites in 164 BC. During the time of John Hyrcanus, 135 to 105 BC, the nephew of Judas, the Judites were again faced with the hostility of the Idumeans.
Yep, which is you so-called white people, headed up by you so-called Jews, because you're the head of all white people. Read.
Hyrcanus confronted the Edomites, causing a decisive change in the relationship between the two factions.
Go on, read on.
John Hyrcanus conquered the whole of Edom.
Conquered the whole of Edom, which the word Edom means red. He conquered the whole of you so-called white people that were living in the land of Edom, because some of you had already migrated out to Macedonia. Read on.
And undertook the forced conversion of its inhabitants.
How do we know that? Because Haman was known as a Macedonian, and Haman was also an Amalekite and Edomite. So that's how we know they were Edomites up there in Macedonia. And that's where you get, what's his name, Philip?
No, yep, King Philip.
King Philip of Macedonia and Alexander the Freak and his butt buddies. They were all so-called white people, man. Because the so-called white men went up into Macedonia during the time of the Greeks and gained themselves a foothold and took over the dark nations that were already living in Europe. Okay? Because Europe was originally inhabited by the sons of Japhet, which were dark people. Because Japhet was a dark person because his father Noah was dark. Damn. Read on. And if you want to know the truth of that, type in Pelagetians, type in the people of ancient peoples of Knossos, and the Minoans, and the Pelagetians and the Etruscans, and you'll find that they drew themselves as all dark people. Now the only time you would see anyone white was when it would be a woman, because to differentiate man and woman on their paintings, they would make one appear white. But they were a dark-skinned people with plaits, man. We so-called white people don't roll with plaits, man. They got doggy hair. Read on.
And undertook the forced conversion of its inhabitants to Judaism.
Basically, he cleaned up you so-called white people and made you stop eating pork and all that. Right?
Thenceforth, the Edomites became a section of the Jewish people.
Right. Go on. Which is where you get Herod from. But Herod wasn't actually a Jew. He was Jewish, meaning like a Jew. He was like a Jew, but he wasn't a Jew according to his heritage. Read on.
Thus, at this juncture of time, the Edomites were then incorporated with the Jewish nation, and their country was called by the Greeks and Romans Idumea.
Go on.
An Edomite procurator of Judea in 47 BC, when Antipater was killed 4 years later, his son Herod gained power but was rejected by the Judites.
Why was he rejected by the Judites? Because they knew he wasn't really a Jew. But guess what? The Romans, which were Edomites, right? The Romans, which were Edomites, but they were calling themselves Romans, put their muscle behind Herod as their agent to control the Judites, the real Judites, which were dark. Which Herod was dark as well, because they had been dealing with Negro women. So they had some color now, but they were still Edomites. Go on.
Herod shrewdly gained the support of Rome.
Like I said.
With a Roman army at his heels, he returned to Palestine, and after a 6-month siege, he captured Jerusalem and became king of Judea.
So if according to their customs, all you had to do was follow their customs and you'd be a Jew, why did they reject Herod? Because they knew Herod was a damn Edomite. He was a devil. He was really a Roman in disguise. That's why the Romans got behind his ass. Right?
Herod was a shrewd and unscrupulous tyrant, and was despised by the Judites because he was an Idumean.
Right. How was he an Idumean? Because his father's line went back to Edomites. Go on.
And not one of their own stock.
Okay. Now we're going to skip through a lot of this. Alright, keep going from here.
So the land was not the kingdom of Judah, but the nation of the Jews, Judeans. Historically, the Edomites became known as Jews. Just like these got Edomites today who would be known as Jews. Go on. A term derived from Judea. Go on. Which was derived from the name Judah. Which we already deduced at the beginning. Being the royal line of Israel, though they were never of Judah or Israel. So they weren't real Jews, basically. Right? Go on, bro. Yeah? Yeah. During Titus' siege of Jerusalem, 66-70 AD, 20,000 Idumeans appeared before Jerusalem to fight in behalf of the Zealots, who were besieged. And guess what? These Idumeans were fighting against their own people, because the Romans were also Idumeans, but they had migrated out of Idumea hundreds of years before, during the time of the Greeks, and established themselves in Europe. See, that's why you gotta know history, man. So them Idumeans and them Romans were the same people. They look the same. But here it is, you had Idumeans fighting on the side of Jerusalem, man. Go on. About 97,000 inhabitants of Judea were taken captive. That's Negroes, man. That's
That's why you had so many blacks ended up in Rome and up in Europe, because Negroes were taken captive and taken back to Rome and other provinces and joined the other ones that were already scattered there. Read on.
And an unknown number had fled either before or during the siege.
And where did they flee to? The main place they fled to was West Africa. They fled to Egypt, Libya and West Africa, man. And some of them fled east into Persia. Some of them fled north into Syria, Armenia. And guess what? They were all dark-skinned people. That's why when those same people eventually, with their brothers that were there beforehand, took down the so-called white men during the 325 AD. They took over the Roman Empire, changed it into the Byzantine Empire, and kicked you so-called white people out into the fucking caves, man. And that's how you ended up in the caves of Caucasus, Russia, man. And then the Negroes was ruling in Europe, man. And for some time in Jerusalem. Go on.
So this is the last mention of the Edomites as a people in history.
Right, go on.
Yet Bible prophecy indicates that Edom would be an enemy of Israel in latter times.
Right, go on. So that means the Edomites are still around today. But guess what? They're not being called Edomites. So what are they being called today then? Europeans, Caucasians, so-called white people. But they're really the Edomites, which is the red people. Go on.
We find that their only connection to a present-day people and religion is with the Jews and Judaism.
Yep.
We thus need to trace back the origin of the Jews to see who they are and how they fit into the puzzle of who is Esau Edom.
Now it's going to get interesting. Go on.
Origins of the Jews. The Jews of today fall within two main types: the Sephardic Jew and the Ashkenazi Jew.
Right, now the Ashkenazi Jew don't mean they descend from the man named Ashkenaz. It's because they at one time lived in the Ashkenazi landmass, which is really Germany, Eastern Europe. Read on. See, that's another confusion they try to throw in there. That's why you got people saying they're from Japhet, but they're not, because they weren't originally from that land. They had migrated. Well, carry on.
The Sephardim are also known as Spanish Jews and constitute about 5% of the Jews in the world.
Yep.
The Ashkenazim are the East European.
And what you have to remember is a lot of Jews became Christians during the Byzantine era. And they separated themselves from calling themselves Jews. They call themselves Christians now. Like Constantine was a Jew, but he didn't call himself a Jew, he called himself a Christian. So always keep that in mind. Read on.
The Ashkenazim are the East European Jews, which are found in Poland, Russia, Germany, and Western Asia.
The white ones, the ones that got red skin, pale skin, the ones you see on TV, like from The Pianist, like what's his name, Charlton Heston, man, right? What's his name, Zuckerberg, Einstein. They all come from Poland, Russia, Germany, and Western Asia. Read.
This group of Jews make up 90% of the so-called Jews in the world.
You're right, so-called. Go on.
Many reference and historical sources have unequivocally identified that the bulk of the Ashkenazi Jews were derived from a people known as Khazars.
Oh, what? Okay, go on.
Or Khazars in some texts. The original Jewish encyclopedia of 1905 revealed that the main stock of the Jews came from this Asiatic people known as Khazars.
Asiatic mean because they lived in that Caucasus area of Georgia, Russia, right? And they were the Khazarians were ruling over other tribes of so-called white people, because we kicked all your asses out into that area, man. Go on.
Okay, it says here for Khazars, a people of Turkish origin whose life and history are interwoven with the very beginnings of the history of the Jews of Russia. Historical evidence points to the region of the Urals as the home of the Khazars.
Right.
Kotzer then devotes the
Oh wait, sorry.
Oh, it's left, isn't it?
Right.
It says here, the Khazars were nomadic people who had no traces of Hebraic culture.
Right, because when the Edomites were living up in Europe as Greeks and Romans, they wasn't acting like Hebrews. They had just had all they had was that Greek philosophy. And then when they went into the caveman state, they were totally bugged out their mind. That's what you so-called white people doing in the caves. All that shit, man. You was in a sorry state, man. Neanderthal. Go on.
They had been following a pagan and sex-orientated religion until they had officially embraced Judaism in 1748.
So the Khazarians were a bunch of pagans and they embraced Judaism in 740 AD. So they only started acting like Jews in 740 AD. Go on.
While rejecting Christianity and Mohammedanism.
So they didn't want to be Christians and they didn't want to be Islamists. Read. Well, but then some of them did become Islamic though, and that's where you get the Ottoman Turks. So among them Arabs over there, them Ottoman Turk babies, they're Edomites too. We got to throw that in there. That's why you got these Arabs that look like white people. They really are just white people, man. Ottoman Turks, Edomites, Redskins. Read.
The Jewish author and historian Arthur Koestler also concludes that the majority of East European Jews, and hence of world Jewry, is of Khazar and not of Semitic origin. Which
he was going off, because the Khazarians were Semitic. They were Edomites. Go on.
In the beginning of his book, he states, the large majority of surviving Jews in the world is of Eastern European and thus perhaps mainly of Khazar origin. If so,
right, by the way, that book, we got that book, so we verified everything that this man quoted in this book. We didn't just believe what he said. Oh, that was the caption there. We got that book right here. Okay? So don't play games with it. We got that book. We know what it says. You can even look that book up online. We got it right here, man. Okay? It's right here online. Right? So don't play no games. This book is referenced, what we're reading from. Go on.
It says, if so, this would mean that their ancestors came not from the Jordan, but from the Volga. Not from Canaan,
which is the land of Israel,
but from the Caucasus.
Which would make them what? Caucasian. That's where you get the word Caucasian from. So all you so-called white people, you came from the Caucasus area, including the so-called Jew, which they were the heads of you white people, which is why they're still the heads of you so-called white people today. They're the richest white people there is. Go on.
And that genetically they are more closely related to the Hun, Uriga and Magyar tribes than to the seed of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob.
Which that ain't really the case, because Esau is Jacob's brother. So the so-called white man is really the most close related people to us. But they are a leprous albino twin brother, man. That's what you are. That's what the Edomites are. You're an albino brother, man. Our weakling, evil brother, man. Go on.
Koestler then devotes the remainder of his 255-page book to prove this premise. For instance, a record of a letter by a Khazar king shows that he traces people to Noah's sons, Japheth, not Shem.
Wait, which he was going off. Go on.
And to Japheth's grandson, Togomar, the ancestor of all Turkish tribes.
Right, which he was going off. Because he didn't know a damn thing. He was really an Edomite. You know what I'm saying? They were really Edomites. They weren't from Japheth. Because Japheth is also a dark-skinned people. The real people of Japheth are what you call the Aborigines of Australia and Papua New Guinea and so forth today. Because they were kicked out of the land of Europe and they migrated east and took up the lands of Australia. Right? That's why they look like what the depictions of the Japhetic people look like back then. People with long hair, plaits, dark skin, don't like to wear no shirt. No, man.
Khazar government was destroyed by the Slavs of Russia in 1016 AD.
Which were Israelites, man.
Around 1200 AD, the land was invaded by the hordes of Genghis Khan.
Right, so they were attacked by Genghis Khan from the east. But then what was subsequently happening in Europe? Niggers, so-called niggers, like the blacks that were ruling Europe, were fighting each other. And then also you had the Black Plague, which provided what? An opportunity for these people to then migrate where? West. So the land was invaded by the hordes of Genghis Khan. Go on.
These two events caused large numbers of Khazars to...
And not just Khazars, other so-called tribes that were over there too, like the Guz, which were a bunch of white people. They also migrated into Europe. That's where you get the rest of these so-called white people, man. But the Khazarians was specifically the so-called Jewish element. Because it was, well, go on.
So he migrated to Poland and Western Russia, forming the cradle of Western Jewry.
That's it.
There is an abundance of ancient place names in the Ukraine and Poland which derive from Khazar or Zid.
Go on.
As the Khazars left their homeland for Khazaria, of Khazaria, and migrated north and west, they lost their name and became known as Jews.
Yep.
their Yiddish language,
which is what they originally spake before they made up this modern Hebrew madness. This is what they, in fact, to this day, the majority of Jews still speak Yiddish. Go on.
An alphabet is not that of the Israelites, Phoenician Greek style,
right?
But an amalgamation of Aramaic, medieval German, Slovak, and Russian dialects.
Right.
The best historical evidence, therefore, shows that the Jews are not descended directly from the Israelites of the Bible, but derive much of their ancestry from the Khazars and other people of Turkish Asiatic blood.
Right.
The Khazars are also of Edomite stock, and both stocks make up the present-day Jews, as historian H.G. Wells states.
Go on.
The Armenians were made Jews, and the Turkish people, Khazars, were mainly Jews in South Russia. The main part of Jewry never was in Judea and had never come out of Judea.
They're Edomites, man. They're Edomites. Go on, read this.
According to the Jewish Encyclopedia, the original stock of the Khazars came from the land of Edom.
They're Edomites. You so-called Jews are not real Jews. You're Edomites. And that's why this book costs over $100 on Amazon, man. Because they do not want you people out there to realize, because then you're going to be like, well, if these so-called Jews are Edomites, what does the Bible say about the Edomites? Then you find out that they're the devil. Go on up.
Hasdai Ivan Shapur, who was foreign minister to Abd al-Rahman, Sultan of Cordova, in his letter to King Joseph of the Khazars about 1960, speaks of the tradition according to which the Khazars once dwelt near the Seir Mountains.
Why did they once dwell near the Seir Mountains? Because they were Edomites. Because you had Edomites that went up from where and joined them up there too. Because people of the same kind congregate together. Go on.
The Seir Mountains are none other than the original land of Esau, Edom.
Go on.
Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir.
Yep.
Esau is Edom.
Go on.
Seir was a mountain range south of the Dead Sea and was also known as the land of Edom. The Seir Mountains were the home of the Edomites for nearly a millennium. Thus, it should be no surprise that the migrants from that land will record the name of the original homeland.
Go on.
If the Khazars did originally dwell near the Seir Mountains, then the Khazars and thus all Jewry are racially of Edomite stock.
Racially, they're not Jews. Racially, they're Edomites. Go on.
But how and when did Edomites get to Khazaria? There is evidence that in the 6th century BC, some of the Edomites fled their homeland of Seir and migrated north.
Right. And then some of them came, again, like I said, east when we drove their ass out of Europe. Right? And they met up in there, man, and formed a wicked root of people, man. Let's get this. Go on.
Although they were called Jews, a term which is derived from the word Judah, these people are not true Judites, but become a mixed or hybridized people, consisting of Edomites, Hittites, Canaanites, Judites, Babylonians, Ishmaelites, Huns, Khazars, etc. Right,
which because they interbred with the Ishmaelites, and that's where you get them Ottoman Turks. Because them Ottoman Turks were nothing but a bunch of Edomites, man. They popped the Ishmaelite women, man. Right?
When they migrated to other lands throughout the centuries, they retained their Jew or Judah identity, but brought with them the religion of Babylon.
Because they don't really follow the Torah. They follow the religion of Babylon, which is the Talmud. Right? Right. That's it on that. Right? I mean, that just makes the point clear. Right there, man.
What's the time of the camera up?
Right, 1:37. Right, just a few more tidbits. It's out of the book 30th Tribe by Arthur Koestler, which we got up here for you. I mean, there's a lot of information in this book, man. I suggest, it's a good book to have, man, just to read through and pick out certain things for yourself, man. There's a lot of information in there. Going into because we could go deeper than this, but this was just like a basic, man. So you can see that for yourself, man, that these so-called Jews are faking the funk, man. Now, this is from a section of the book called The Fall. It's when the Khazarians were on their way out, and it's from page 119 in the book, and it reads, "The legends which circulated among Western Jews." Now these Western Jews were real Jews, dark-skinned Jews, right, that had fled that Roman captivity. These are their descendants. They were real. This is legends which circulated among Western Jews in the Middle Ages. The Middle Ages, another word for that is the Dark Ages. Why is it called the Dark Ages? Because dark-skinned people was ruling Europe at the time. Provide a curious parallel to the Russian Belina. To quote Polyak again, the popular Jewish legend does not remember a Khazar kingdom, but a kingdom of red Jews. And Baron comments, the Jews of other lands were flattered by the existence of an independent Jewish state. Popular imagination found here a particular fertile field. Just as the biblically minded Slavonic epics speak of Jews rather than Khazars, so did Western Jews long after spin romantic tales around those red Jews, so styled perhaps because of the slight Mongolian pigmentation of many Khazarians, which the Mongolians are not red. Mongolians, which they're talking about the Chinese and the Japanese, are a yellowish brown, a yellow to a brown. So that's not red. Who was red in the Bible? Who was red in the Bible? Brother, I hand it over to you. Read the scripture and let's see. And you see how it all comes together.
Okay, this is Genesis chapter 36 verse 8. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom.
Now what does the word Edom mean in the Hebrew? Adawam, which means red. So that says Esau is red. That's why these fake Jews, they call them red Jews because of their color. They were red, meaning they had a lack of pigmentation, so the color of their blood showed through their skin, like the rest of you so-called white people. So that's a cold cut to your ass, man. And I'm going to get another cut for your ass from a book called Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. Right, here's the book, The Origins of American Racism, Lost Tribes and Promised Lands by Ronald Sanderson, which, by the way, he happens to be a so-called white man, okay? So don't be just saying that it's just black people writing this. He happens to be a so-called white man, and which happens to be actually a so-called Jew. And this man here, Arthur Kosa, is a so-called Jew too. So they're just telling the truth, man, about themselves. They're admitting, look, we're not no real Jews, because they don't feel the need to read the Torah and that. Now, there's another picture of the book. This is from page, what was it, 100? I got it here because I got to read it from the book. But I'm just showing you, to show you that I didn't make this up, man. This is actually in a book. And I'm going to read what it said. Bear with me one sec. There's a lot of information in this book, man, but you know what I'm saying? From page 23, and it reads, I'm going to start from around here, where I've highlighted. Right? It says, during the reign of Abderrahman III, word reached the court of Cordova, which is Spain, about the existence of a nomadic people of the Central Asian steppes called the Khazars, whose king and upper class, right, had been converted to Judaism some 200 years before. So who, of all them white people that were living in the Caucasus Mountains, it was the king and the upper class that converted. Just a small group. And that's your so-called white Jews today. That's why they're so small. Right? Which the Bible tells you that Israel is the sand of the sea. But there's only 5 million of them. You know, they're not even 10 million of them supposed to be worldwide. When Israel is supposed to be as the sands of the sea. So that's another cut. Fools. But anyway, on the circumstances that remain obscure, the Caliph's first minister, Hasdai ibn Shaprut, a Jew, which was a so-called black man, and guess what? The Caliph was a so-called black man. Because you had Moors in Spain that were Muslims. They were being called Moors, but they were really Jews that converted to Islam. Right? Responded to the news by writing an excited letter to the Khazar king, since the first reports on the Jewish Khazars had not mentioned the fact the fact that they were converts, has thy thought that they might be descended from the lost tribes. In writing of the complex diplomatic measures he planned to take in order to get his letter conveyed across the world, he explained that he was doing all this in order to know the truth whether the Israelitish exiles anywhere from one independent kingdom are not subject to any foreign ruler. If indeed I could learn that this was the case, then despising all my glory, abandoning my high estate, leaving my family, I would go over mountains and hills, through seas and lands, till I should arrive at the place where my lord the Khazar king resides, that I might see not only his glory and his magnificence and that of his servants and ministers, but also the tranquility of the Israelites. On beholding this, my eyes would brighten, my reins would exult, my lips would pour forth praises to God, who has not withdrawn his favor from his afflicted ones. Hast thou later learned the truth about the origin of the Jewish Khazars, but they continue to be a sort of excitement among Spanish Jews right down to the time of Judah HaLevi, whose great Arabic prose work, Al-Khuzari, was inspired by them. So, the truth is, you so-called Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, running around calling yourself Jews, you're converts, man. You're Edomites that converted to Judaism. You're not the real Jews. And you know what? We could have went even deeper, but you know, we ain't got the time. If we had the time, we would go through all the prophecies, which that'll have to be another day, and show you that you don't fit the prophecies of the Bible, man. The very fact you're over there, and the 5 million of you over there in the land of Israel, shows that you're not the real Israelites. You're not the real Jews, because the real Jews were going to be brought into the land by the Messiah, which ain't the Allied forces, man. So I don't know what the hell you guys are dealing with.
No British government, man.
No Balfour Declaration, man. So with that, what we gonna do? We just gonna end it with style, man. Right? We just gonna end it with style, and that's it, man. Okay? We gonna let you brothers. We're gonna let you brothers just relax now, and let you Jews envy what you wish you could be, which is a real Jew.
And I'll go right straight through the dance and give you a variation. It'll blow your mind.
Blow your mind.
He's doing a trap dancing too. Boogaloo. Funky chicken. Old James Brown. Counter walk. I did this in time to show.
Now you show me a so-called Jew that's gonna do that.
Also, robot.
Man's doing the James Brown moves, man. That's how James Brown actually used to get down on stage, man, like this brother showing you. Alright, brothers. Shalom.